we wanted to start a family, and after having been married for a few years, finally found out that I was pregnant. And it was quite a surprise because within the first couple weeks we went to the doctor to have the ultrasound, and to make a very elaborate story short, it was one, two, and then three babies. We had a combination of joy and fear and excitement and horror. You know, being pregnant with triplets is high risk, and we realized that when we visited with the perinatal group. And I ended up on bed rest in the hospital during my 18th week, and was there for almost 8 weeks, I guess. 7 weeks. I willfully forget some of the details. So that was a crazy process. Michael would come to visit me every night after work when I was in the hospital, and I was trying to eat as much as I could because I was pregnant with triplets. And he would make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every night before he'd go.
And force her to eat it. Yeah.
So, nonetheless, the NICU doctors came to visit us, you know, when I was in the hospital, and explained to us, obviously, the dangers of delivering early. And the whole time through that process, I really could only focus on just eating and drinking and kind of trying to be merry because I had no other control over what was happening. And I didn't do any research at that point about delivering early. I hadn't visited the NICU before I was admitted because I never thought that it would happen to me to have not one, but two, but three babies born so early.
My mom actually was a high-risk nurse, so I grew up having her tell me these stories of babies born premature and what that means and how dangerous it is. So I kind of had an inkling of what, you know, a very tiny inkling of what that could mean in terms of their development, how little they are, etc. But you just assume if they came out and they were okay, then they'd be fine. You didn't really understand the weeks and the development of lungs and brains and the various stages of that scenario, those scenarios. And it was hard on her to feel as though she had no control. And even though she was trying her hardest, all she could do was being on bed rest. That's all she could do. It still wasn't really working. And you know, the boys were born at 25 weeks one day, and even that one day is important. You know, every little day counts. So I'm told, you know, Leigh's in recovery. I can go see them in the NICU, and you know, I don't know what that means. So I really go in. It's dark. The shades are drawn. There's like a blue light everywhere. It's like a very almost a hushed hum. And I see my sons and, you know, the isolates, and you kind of don't know what to do because you feel confused. You don't know, really, you're still in shock of what happened. You are realizing those are your sons, but you don't know how to relate to them because they're so little and tiny and sick. And at the same time, you're trying to figure out what all this sensory, what's going on.
It's bigger!
I was introduced to the boys after coming out of recovery from the C-section, so they actually wheeled me in the bed. I wasn't even really well enough to sit in a wheelchair. And I understand at this point that the doctors did that because they didn't know how the boys would even do through that first night, and they wanted to make sure that I at least saw them, which is very intense for me to think about. But I don't know how they even got me in there, but I was on the bed and they wheeled me through, and I remember just trying to keep my eyes open enough to take it in, to meet them. And, you know, Michael and I didn't know the genders of the babies before they were born, so we had a lot of discussions, we had a lot of time to fill, of what the names would be. So it was, you know, great to see Michael knew exactly what, you know, the names were when I was in surgery, and to see their names and, you know, see their faces and just kind of be there. But again, I was laying in the bed and I clearly wasn't close to them. I couldn't touch them, and that's a lot. That's intense. And to see them, you know, it was late at night, it was dark. I mean, there's just this hum of underlying, you know, machines working, and, you know, the staff is quiet but moving all the time, and you're just wondering, you know, where they're moving to and what's happening. And the babies were so little.
The boys weighed between 1 and 2 pounds. They probably each had 3 pounds of tubing on them. That's just the tubing, let alone ventilators and leads. Anthony was Anthony was very sick. He was on the oscillator the next day, which looked like a small car. and so it takes you. You're like you don't know what's going on, and you feel it's part of you feels like you're helpless because you can't do anything, and you're just sitting there watching the children. You don't know if they're in pain, so you have no idea, like, are they hurting right now? Are they comfortable? Are they uncomfortable? What's going on with them? What's the next hour going to bring? And the machines are, a comfort, and as well as scary, because they're lights and noises and sounds, and you don't know what it all means. And a new piece of machinery sometimes means a baby's progressing, sometimes it means a baby's getting worse. You can easily get scared with all of the apparatus around.
I think it's safe to say between the 3 children, we used a majority of equipment in that NICU. Some days we'd come in and, they were in 3 separate areas because one of them just, had a problem between in the morning when the doctors gave us the update and when we got there. In the mid-morning, something would change. Their status changes so quickly and it's overwhelming. But I think to maintain our sanity, we just agreed to kind of cross the bridges when they came and, to do extra research or to learn more about things that might happen for us was not helpful because we had 3 children and really anything could be happening at any moment.
Hey, Tommy! Hey, Tommy! I got the wolf for you! Hey, Grandpa!
They were very tiny, and it was first 10 days, I'd say, were pretty bad in terms of the level. Having 1 kid born premature is enough to take in, but 3 at the same time, you kind of go through a little roller coaster. You would talk to the doctor about 1 child, and then that child may be doing great, and you'd feel really good. And then you realize, oh my God, I have 2 more children. And you go to the next cube or next isolate, and that child might not be doing well. And then all of a sudden you'd be brought down because you're worried about that child. And then baby 3 would be good or bad or what have you. So it was a constant roller coaster of those feelings, and as well as trying to assimilate what baby had what and what to do. And so there's not much we could do. So we would come to visit at the NICU. Leigh was in the hospital for a few more days. We'd come to visit every day after work. I would come, Leigh would come during the day, and you just try to visit with them, talk to them. I would buy books, little kids books, and just read to them because they didn't want to hear about my day at work or sports. So I thought, what could I do to talk with them that was creative? So I bought books and read to them, even though so they can get used to our voices. And over time, we're very fortunate. Things got better quickly for us. But the first 10 days were very dark, gloomy, long, stressful days.
It's true, and at the beginning, we couldn't even hold them. They were so little, and you couldn't even touch a finger. They were just so sick. So one of the things that we did end up doing, as Michael said, is getting books and just trying to read to them. And we would yammer on and try to talk to them too, but just so they could hear our voices. We never have had children before that, and so we just realized there was something unnatural happening in that we had these children, but we weren't holding them. They weren't hearing us, and we wanted to, at least if we thought we could bring comfort to them by having them hear us.
And luckily the boys are good now, but we were 2 of them had very bad lung issues, so we didn't know if they were going to have some serious breathing problems. We didn't know if one of our children was told he may have some cerebral palsy-like issues. Luckily that didn't turn out. We didn't know what that meant.
Right.
So you had to take in breathing and development and birth weight and cerebral palsy and heart issues and all these things, and you had no idea. And we're fairly educated. Leigh has a biology background, and we still found it very hard to take in all this.
NICU is a really amazing place when you are able to see the greatness that happens there and the skill of the doctors and the nurses and how they really bring these teeny tiny babies from, just like the grips of death. They can save them and keep them and help them to just nourish them and grow and, graduate from the NICU. It's a big day. It's also a very intimidating place. These babies are so small and the equipment is huge.
Oh! Somebody help us!
the doctors and the nurses at the hospital were unbelievable and became our family at the time, because they were just so supportive emotionally and gave us information and let us, ask as many questions as we wanted to. They were gracious in letting our parents come, to visit the boys also. And when it was finally time to do the kangaroo care, it was a really, really great moment for me, because I, in many ways, felt like I had let them down by delivering that early. And I know that I did everything I could do medically. There's nothing that I did to lead myself to deliver early, but it's hard, I think, as a mom. And when I was finally able to hold the boys in kangaroo care, it was unbelievable. Probably took like 5 nurses to arrange, because there was a ventilator, or there was other breathing equipment. Obviously, they had the lines in for nutrition, and it was an amazing feat to bring this tiny little baby over to me just so they could lay him on my chest, to move all this equipment around to make it happen. And I was so nervous, and I kept saying, you don't really have to do that. Really, you don't have to do it. If you don't think it's the right idea, don't do it just for me. I'm fine. I can wait another day or two. I don't want to dislodge something. And the nurses thought, no, this is going to be a great thing. The babies are ready, and this is going to be great for all of you. They were great moments, just to at least feel the children, and just to be able to kind of say, like, hey, you're doing a great job, and we're going to make it.
I got on the measuring tape. Oh, Captain. We're going to that bacon because that bacon is really big. Let's go.
We just kind of did our thing and kind of went to see the boys and just ticked off the days. And every morning about 11 a.m. the doctors would call us, and they give us a report on each boy, so we would know how they were progressing weight-wise and breathing tolerance and all that stuff. And as we saw over weeks, they kept on getting better. Anthony, who was the sickest by far in the first 3 or 4 days, was the first off the ventilator. And then Nicholas was very ill, and then he got off, and then Paul got off, and then finally they started, getting really better, and then they're there to get big.
It's amazing to reflect back on that time, because, now they're going to be 5 years old. They're healthy, crazy boys. And, we have Band-Aids on hand all the time, because they just run and play and jump and, fit in well with all their other peers, which is just truly a blessing and a testament to the skill of the doctors and the nurses and technology for us at that point, which hopefully is even better now for any families today.
Mommy!
What, honey?
I better tell you about it.
Tell me.
Let's stop that to the trays.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa. Nicholas, what was your favorite part about the pumpkin patch?
The tractor!
The tractors? Wow.
The hardest thing to overcome in a NICU is a sense of you don't know what's going to happen. And we had to deal with that ×3 because we had 3 different sons.
And it was fascinating for us too. It's really hard not to compare them. But we have 3 children in the NICU at the same time, and if Paul's settings were going down and he was doing better on the breathing apparatus and about to transition, when Anthony or Nicholas got to that stage, they certainly didn't transition the same way. And if the settings went down, they might have gone back up for one of them. And I mean, they did not have the same course in the NICU, and even how they got to each step and crossed over their hurdles seems to be 3 different ways. And I'm gathering there's 1,000 permutations of how babies start out in the NICU and get through it and graduate, and it's just the journey, odyssey.
French fries.
How many French fries do you eat, you think?
100. 100.
100, you think? And how many nuggets do you eat usually?
15. 10 French fries and 10 chicken nuggets.
No, you eat more French fries than 10.
My job at the time was to try to take care of myself nutritionally so I could rebound. I was pumping for the boys, and that was very helpful for me to be able to do. I had to get my rest and just keep a positive attitude. As much as there's nothing that I physically could have done to help them. We would read to them, we would try, hold them as soon as we can, but it's up to the, doctors and nurses.
I personally, after the first month, felt very comfortable, because once I left the NICU for the night, I was 99% positive or sure that everything was okay for that day, because they're there just to get big. And I would go home and kind of almost relax, knowing that they had the great nurses there and they were in really good hands. It was a good experience, and I would say to any parents, you don't want to. You can get overloaded with a lot of negative information and a lot of positive information. As someone said to us, actually the doctor who delivered them said to us, you know, it doesn't take a lot for a baby in the NICU to look very, very healthy or very, very sick. So you literally have to be so middle of the road. You want to enjoy those good days, but not get overly exuberant. And on the negative days, you don't want to just have it crush you, because the babies are so frail and so little. Something can happen really quickly to really help them. So you got to try to almost think more of like you're a marathon runner. Just step by step, take it slow. Don't think of, you know, this is going to be easy now or this is going to be horrible now. And just that's a frame of mind that I think we didn't talk about. We just you just adapt to it and become that way.
Every day is a great day in the NICU if you can check it off and say, we're heading into tomorrow. And it's a magical place. Wonderful things happen in a NICU and very, very scary things happen in a NICU. It's impressive that NICUs have been around forever and they will continue to be there. And we never knew about them. We never thought about them until our children were born. And I don't think a day goes by that we don't think about the staff that's there and what they did for us. We have our family because of the skill and the care that they gave. There's some tickling.
Yeah.